My family has a Christmas tradition I wish I never questioned. Growing up, Christmas was magical. The tree glowing softly in the corner, the smell of gingerbread drifting through the house, and the sound of my family laughing late into the night made me believe nothing bad could ever happen during the holidays. But there was one tradition, one single moment that never felt quite right. Every Christmas Eve, just before bed, my parents would gather us around the fireplace. They would turn off every light in the house, leaving only the warm, flickering glow of the fire. Then, with a seriousness that didn't match the holiday spirit, they would hand each of us a small silver bell. My dad would always say the same words, year after year. Shake it once for Santa. He needs to hear you. As a kid, I didn't question it. I liked the sound the bells made. I liked how they sparkled in the firelight. So we all rang our bells once, just once, the room filled with soft jingling like distant sleigh bells. And then my parents would extinguish the fire. No story time, no cookies, no carols, just darkness. And that was it. As I grew older, though, I started noticing things. The next morning, the fire was always lit again. No one ever admitted to waking up to do it. It was just burning, waiting, the embers glowing like eyes watching us. Sometimes, on the bricks around the fireplace, there were faint black marks, charred handprints. My dad always cleaned them quickly, before anyone else noticed. But I noticed. One year, when I was 12, I finally asked my mom why we did the bell ritual. Her face went pale instantly. "It's just tradition," she whispered, almost trembling. "Some things are better left alone." But her voice cracked, and that was the moment I knew something was wrong. The answer wasn't enough. It never was. Last Christmas, everything changed. I was 16, curious, restless, and no longer willing to accept silence. After the ritual, after the lights went out and the fire died, I didn't go to bed. I hid behind the couch, my heart pounding in my ears. The room felt colder than it had ever had. The air smelled of smoke, but the fire was gone. Time passed slowly. Minutes felt like hours. Shadows stretched across the walls like they were alive. I almost gave up, and then I heard it. A faint jingling sound, like someone shaking a bell in the distance. At first I thought it was my imagination, but it grew louder, clearer, closer. The sound wasn't coming from the room. It was coming from the chimney. The air turned icy. My breath came out in fog. The house groaned as if something heavy was pressing against its walls. Then I heard something dragging inside the chimney, something large, something alive. My body froze as a cold draft swept across the room, slithering around me like invisible fingers. Something moved in the darkness of the fireplace. At first I saw nothing, just shadows shifting, but then a hand emerged, long, burned, blackened like wood left too long in a fire. Another hand followed. Then a face, impossibly tall, contorted to fit beneath the low ceiling. Its limbs were too long, its skin cracked and ashen. Beneath the cracks, I swore I could see embers glowing, like dying flames beneath the surface. In its hand was a bell, an old bell, tarnished, heavy, identical to ours. It lifted the bell to its side and shook it once. The sound wasn't loud, but it echoed inside my head like a scream. My muscles locked. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The creature's head turned toward me, and though its eyes were hollow, I felt them pierce straight through me. Then it smiled, a jagged, splitting smile, like burnt wood cracking open, and in a voice like crackling fire, it whispered, "You're not supposed to watch." Everything went black. When I woke up, I was in my bed. My clothes smelled of smoke. My parents refused to look at me. My little brother stared at me like I was already dead. When I went downstairs, the fireplace had fresh handprints on it, and on the mantel there was a bell, my bell, waiting for me. I haven't shaken a bell since, but every Christmas Eve I hear it, and every year it gets louder. This year I decided to learn the truth. My parents were gone, running errands, so I went into the attic, the one place they always kept locked. Inside, beneath dusty blankets and boxes, I found a wooden chest carved with symbols, bells, snowflakes, fire, and a name I recognized, our family name. Inside the chest were old newspapers, photographs, and a journal. The newspaper clippings told the story first. Over 100 years ago, a man named Nicholas Bellamy, a blacksmith known for crafting bells, died in a fire on Christmas Eve. But the fire wasn't an accident. Witnesses claimed Nicholas went mad. They heard bells ringing all night. They saw him walking through the flames unharmed, laughing as the fire consumed his workshop. His body was never found. All that remained was a single bell, still hot to the touch. My ancestor. The journal told the rest. Nicholas didn't die in the fire. The fire changed him, bound him, burned him into something that wasn't entirely human anymore. Something that comes home every Christmas Eve, searching for the family that abandoned him. The bells weren't meant to invite Santa. They were meant to remind Nicholas that the family remembered him, that they still honored him, because if the bells ever stopped, he would come looking. Anyone who saw him, anyone who watched, would become his replacement, consumed by fire, turned into the next ghost of Christmas Eve. The last line of the journal wasn't written in ink. It was scorched into the page. Now everything makes sense. The bells are ringing again. My bell is ringing. The fire downstairs has lit itself. There are footsteps on the roof. The chimney is groaning, and I can hear his voice, closer than before. You're not supposed to watch. A pause. Then, softly, now it's your turn.